Welcome everyone. In this video, let's look into what day 5 of the professional course. This day 5 course is divided into 8 different sections. In that, we'll be looking into section 2, which is your environment and material setting. See, in our previous section, we talked about your element 1 of a real-time rendering, which is your lighting. In this session, we'll be talking about your environmental setting, which is element 2, and your material editing, which is your element 3. So first, let's just look into your environment. So if you like to change the environment, which is nothing but the outdoor HDR image which is present in your project. In this vertical bar here, can you see the second tab, environment, click it, and here you will see different HDR images which you could use depending on your requirement. So here can you see there are some villa based HDR images, some community oriented HDR images, street based, landscape based, and even your cityscapes too. So depending on your actual project surrounding, you can select any of the appropriate HDR images here too, and as you select, it will precisely be updated as well. My personal recommendation here is, if you're designing an interior for an apartment or so, where in one of your viewports where you could directly see the outdoor through a window or a sliding door or something, in those cases, then I would recommend you to select any of the cityscape, because this will give you an ambience as if you're designing an apartment and you're able to precisely see how your cityscape is from the apartment view. If you're designing a villa, okay, in those cases, then I would recommend you to either go for villa based HDR images where the floor of the surrounding will be much more intact in your view, or you could even go for your community spaces too. This would also works better for your villa spaces. Or if not, you could even explore your streetscapes and your landscapes too. Or if you feel like you don't need any of this HDR image, you just want a plain white background, in those cases, just scroll down, and here at the last you will see something known as pure white. If you select, then it will be a typical pure white. You don't have to worry about any HDR image or anything of that sort. You can precisely go for the render. If you personally ask me, the point where that realism breaks in your photorealistic render is when you're trying to match with the outdoor photograph, because all the HDR image what you're seeing here are actual photographs, and what you're taking for the space is a render. Okay, point precisely where this two element blend is where that inconsistency will be prominent. Okay, so on a safer bet, if you feel like matching it with the actual photograph might be a bit difficult for you, then I would recommend you to go for a pure white HDR image so that you don't have to worry about it. So this is what when it comes to your environment. Now you might be wondering, what if I want to upload an HDR image? All these are default HDR images which are available in NAADI, right? What if you want to upload? In those cases, then you have to go to your main rendering window. In those cases, you have to go to your main rendering window, and here if you scroll down, can you see these are all some list of HDR images which are there, right? If you see here under environment, you have something called uploads tab. Click it, and here can you see you should be able to upload up to 10 HDR images. So for that, you can just click it. It will open up your browse window, select your HDR image, click on open. Your HDR image will be uploaded here, and once it is uploaded, if you go to your real-time rendering window under environment, and now if you click on this uploads, your uploaded HDR image will be visible. You can click it and apply your personal HDR images to your scene as well. So this is what your second element, which is your environment. So now let's just focus on your element 3, which is your material replacement and edit. See, in your real-time rendering window, you does have a feasibility to replace any of your existing material in your model and take it for the renders. For that, on the left vertical bar here, can you see the last tab? There is something called materials, right? Click it, and this will open up your material tab. And all the materials what you're seeing here, all these are public library materials. Can you see here? It is categorized and subcategorized so that it will be easy for you to navigate and apply this for a component. Now let's just say that I would like to replace this countertop material from the model here to a material from our public library catalog in the real-time rendering. So for that, here can you see out of all the category, you will see a category name stone. If you click it, there you will see different types of stones here. Can you see here? The quartz, marble, granite, jade. In this, I'm looking for a quartz. Let me just click on quartz, and these are all the different generic quartz material which are available in our public library. Now let's just say that I would like to replace this one with this. In that case, just click it and take your cursor and place it on top of the component. You will see that that specific component which has that finish is getting highlighted, right? And now if I just left click it, the material which I selected will precisely be applied to the component of same material ID. Can you see here? It will also be updated in your preview window too. So this way you will be able to replace your model materials in your real-time rendering window. If you don't like this finish, you can just select another finish and apply it. As simple as that. And here you can replace a material for a component not only from a public library. Can you see there is something called mine here, right? If you click it, you could even apply your imported or your personal library finish to your components as well in your real-time rendering. So here if you click it, can you see these are all the textures which are available or which are uploaded in my personal library, and I can access it here. In this case, now if I want to apply this finish, just click it and apply. As simple as that. So you should be able to apply your personal library finish and your public library finishes for any of the components within your real-time rendering window. I could even do the same process for any surface here. For an example, if I want to change my backsplash material here, I can just select one from my personal library, and once selected, just click and apply. That's it. Can you see? So this is how you should be able to replace a finish or a material in your model from our public library or your personal library within your real-time rendering window. And it doesn't stop here. You could also edit any of the finishes which are available in your model too. Editing in the sense I'm talking about your detailed material or finish editing in terms of diffuse map, bump, reflection, refraction, glossiness. All those maps can be edited to precision. So for an example here, in my case, I would like to edit the texture which I apply for my backsplash. For that, let me just select the backsplash, and on the right hand side, can you see it will show you the different maps which are present for that selected texture. If you're already aware of what PBR material is, you should be familiar with the terminologies here. If not, I'll just give you a quick intro. See, any material you see on a digital content, it might look like one single image, right? But technically it is made up of different images or map contributing to different nature of a texture. For example, any texture image which we upload to our personal library, that is technically one of the map. We call it as diffuse map that contributes to the base visual appeal of the finish. Okay. There is another image here named reflection map which talks about the color of the reflection. There is a third map here named reflective glossiness which talks about the glossiness of the finish, how glossy you want, whether you want it like an eye gloss finish, semi-gloss, satin or matte finish. That could be controlled using the third map which is your reflective glossiness. And you have your refraction or your opacity map as well, which controls the transparency of a specific texture. And then comes your bump map which contributes to the visual depth of the texture. And last will be your Fresnel. Fresnel map is not something that is commonly used for majority of the texture. It is only used on textures which has double reflection. A best example would be for your pearlescent or for your velvet finishes. But in general, a single texture what you're observing is compiled of all this map contributing to the different nature of the finish. And in this real-time rendering, you should be able to control each of those maps here. Can you see here? Your reflection, bump, reflective glossiness, refraction, Fresnel, and you even have your diffuse map at the first. And in this, if you feel like controlling the visual appeal in the sense if you want to control the hue, saturation, brightness, those things could be controlled by editing the diffuse map here. So here can you see you have a diffuse map. On the right hand side you have something called editing textures, right? Click it and this will show you the different properties of the diffuse map here. So here can you see I can control the hue. Can you see here as I make changes here, the hue will eventually update. I could even control the saturation too. I can make it oversaturated like what you are seeing now, or I could even desaturate. Not only that, I could even control the brightness of the texture too. So if I want this texture to be much more brighter, I can make it brighter. If I want it darker, just lower the slider. And in addition to all these factors, you should also be able to scale your textures too. Can you see here you have something called horizontal scaling and vertical zoom, right? You can horizontally and vertically scale your textures according to your requirement. You remember in your day one of the foundation course, I would have told you that you can't scale up a texture during your initial modeling phase, but you could do that during your final rendering scenario, right? This is what I was talking about. So in your real-time rendering, you should be able to scale up a texture or scale down a texture in your model. In this way, if I want to scale up this backsplash tile here, right now both are 60 and 60, I could make it as 100 horizontally and 100 vertically. Can you see the size of the tile has increased? If you want to lower it up, then reduce it. Let me just make it as 30 horizontally, 30 vertically. So this way you can scale up a texture or scale down a texture depending on your requirement. Second thing is your offset. Offset is nothing but moving your texture. So if you want to move your textures horizontally, then you can just increase your lateral offset. Can you see here? It will horizontally move a texture, that is from left to right. If you want to vertically move a texture, then you can do it in your longitudinal offset. This will move the texture from top to bottom or bottom to top. And apart from that, you could obviously control the rotation of the texture too. That is what this angle is for. If I want to rotate this tile for about 45 degrees, can you see? It will be updated. So to this precision, you will be able to control the visual nature of a texture by editing the diffuse map of that specific finish. And apart from your diffuse map, another common map which designers would use is the reflection map. This reflection map talks about the color of the reflection. So in most cases, if it is in map, make sure you click on this color tab. It will open up your swatch. Click on the swatch window and try to either set it as pure white or a lighter gray. Because on most cases, the reflection color of any texture would either be white or light gray. You can just set it any of these two, based on which the reflection color will be updated here. Can you see? And apart from your reflection, the third commonly used map is your reflective glossiness. Reflective glossiness controls the glossiness of the texture, like I said. So in default, if it is in map, make sure you click on this numeric tab so that you will get this slider. In the slider, if you set the slider as 1, which is maximum, then it will be an eye gloss finish. As you reduce the slider, it will eventually become your semi-gloss matte finish also. Can you see here? So this way you could even control the glossiness of a texture too. Can you see right now this is an eye gloss finish. You could literally see the reflectivity which is happening behind the camera. If you set it as 0.9 or 0.8, it would be a gloss finish. If you set it as 0.6, 0.7, it would be a satin finish. If you set it as 0.5 or less than 0.5, it will be a typical matte finish. So this is what when it comes to material editing in your real-time rendering window viewers. If I want to take the render for this, I could directly take it from here. So I could just go click on this 3-dot menu right next to the render tab here, where I could control the aspect ratio, resolution, and I can hit render. I can generate the render within the real-time rendering window itself. The reason why I'm telling you is, once I made all this material editing here, let me just hit on save. And if I exit this real-time rendering window, you will notice that none of the editing we did is updated in your main model. Can you see here? Your countertop was completely different, backsplash was different, all those things, right? That is because the material editing what we are doing within the real-time rendering window stays within the real-time rendering template only. It won't be updated in your main model. But as long as your edited real-time rendering template is selected, if it is selected on the top right, you will see a blue tick. As long as that is selected, you don't have to worry. All the material editing what we did will precisely be updated in your renders. Or if you want to continue your material editing right from where you left, no worries, just double click on the real-time rendering template. It will open up the saved template where all the material editing, replacements, everything would be there. You can continue, you can edit further more materials and you can take it back. Can you see here? Your backsplash, countertop, everything is up. And now you might be wondering, what if I want to apply this updated texture to another surface? Because right now we apply this backsplash for this surface, right? For this wall surface. What if I want to apply the same finish for another surface? In that case, you don't have to again do the same process from the scratch. You already have the edited texture here, right? You could use your material brush. Can you see here? Shortcut is here. That way you could copy this edited texture from this surface and apply this to another surface. In my case here, if I want to apply this for this laminate here, I can do that too. Can you see? It will be updated. But kindly note that this material editing or replacement what we are doing within real-time rendering is only for the fine-tuning purpose, not for major material replacements. If you want to do major material replacement, please exit this real-time rendering window, go to your modeling window. There you can apply any of the textures. You have the public library model, enterprise catalog, or even your personal library. You can apply it and come back to the same template. The edit will be updated in your real-time rendering template. But please don't use the real-time rendering template as the main source for editing the material. That is because each and every real-time template here has a material replacement constraint of 400. Which means beyond this 400 count, you won't be able to replace or edit any material here. So with this, your section 2 of the Day 5 professional course is completed.